Amputation isn't always inevitable, even with a severe foot wound. In fact, according to the International Diabetes Federation, with alternative action, as many as 85% of diabetic amputations can be avoided. Dr. Michael Edmonds knows this well. As the founder of the Diabetic Foot Clinic at King's College Hospital in London, he and his team have been able to cut amputation rates in half, and that's even among high-risk Caribbean populations. Dr. Edmonds joins us now via Skype with former patient Audley Guthrie, who has Jamaican parentage. Guthrie had a severe foot wound in 2012, but Dr. Edmonds still managed to save his leg. Welcome to the program to you both.
Good evening.
Good evening, Zara.
Audley, let's bring you in because you're the success story here. How long did you have this foot injury before getting treatment?
I'd been suffering with the pain for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. I was just taking ibuprofen tablets to kill the pain, to mask the pain. But the pain became so unbearable in the end that I had no choice but to go to King's.
And from what I understand, you did not know at the time that you had diabetes. How long was it before you knew?
When the doctor asked me how long I'd been a diabetic, all I could say to him was 30 seconds because I found out when he told me.
How was your eating? What was your lifestyle like?
My eating habits, I'll be very honest with you, my diet was absolutely atrocious.
Did you ever believe that amputation was a real option?
At that time, I was very feverish. A lot of the stuff that was going on, I didn't understand. So my daughter was more persistent. She was the one who really said to the doctors, "You can't take his foot. You really can't take his foot."
What was the reason that you knew that Audley's leg could be saved in this case?
Soon after Audley came to the hospital, the foot is swollen and you can see the redness of the ankle region, which was very painful. We were able to do the microbiology to find out the particular bacteria causing the trouble. We were able to focus the antibiotics. We were able to carry out the surgical removal of the pus and the infected tissue. We knew that the blood supply was good in Audley's foot. It was difficult at times, and on the fourth operation, the issue of amputation was brought up by other doctors because at that stage Audley had become quite ill again with high fevers and some impairment of the renal.
Professor Edmonds just showed us a picture of your foot when it was healed initially. Can we see your foot now?
All I have now is a scar.
It's much more improved. That's great. And what's your lifestyle like now?
I have to admit my diet has changed 100%. I'm eating a lot of fruits, drinking loads of water, and my diet is a lot better now.
Your chauffeur, are you still driving?
I'm driving again, yeah. If I had gone to any other hospital in London that didn't have this department, this foot clinic, I probably would have lost a foot.
Dr. Edmonds, what would you say is the reason that the King's College Foot Clinic has been able to cut amputation rates in half?
It's receiving the patients early, investigating them thoroughly, working with skilled surgeons who can improve blood supply, surgeons who can reconstruct the foot.
When is it that amputation can't be avoided?
In certain circumstances where the infection has become overwhelming and has spread through the foot and is going through the body and threatening the patient's life, then amputation is justifiable. But in our circumstances, that is extremely, extremely rare. And we receive quite a lot of patients in our clinic who have been advised and told that they need an amputation, and they then come to our clinic and get a second opinion, and 8 times out of 10, we can save the foot.
Our thanks to Dr. Edmonds, founder of the Diabetic Foot Clinic at King's College Hospital in London. And Audley, your success story. Congratulations. I wish you well with your health.
Thank you for having me.
Goodbye, Zara.
Small in stature, but a giant of a man.
Patrick Husbands asks him for his heart. It is all Wando.
How Barbadian Patrick Husbands beat the odds, riding his way to the top of the Canadian pack. That's next on 18 Degrees North.
Reading opens your mind to the endless possibilities the world has to offer. You can't ignore the power of knowledge, so equip yourself with ideal selections from Games Bookstore. We offer a wide range of books. These include early childhood, primary, secondary, tertiary, study guides, past papers, religious books, children's classics, and local books, just to name a few. So come on in and ignite a whole new dimension of learning at Games Bookstore.
A grim diagnosis.
I had at the time a glomus jugular tumor.
A need for specialized care.
It was squeezing the life out of me.
Megan Andrews, a teacher from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, sought help from the University Hospital of the West Indies in Jamaica that boasts cutting-edge technology and specialists working together from all fields.
If I can get all the cancer specialists in one room looking at your case, you have the benefit of 5 or 6 different opinions.
Our state-of-the-art interventional suite will facilitate more minimally invasive procedures.
With the interventional suite, we can use keyhole surgery via an injection in the groin without having to do the classic surgical incision.
This makes your medical needs more affordable, all while being part of our community.
You'll likely see someone from your country and a culture that is quite similar, which we know affects the outcome of patients.
They made me feel at home. I rate them top of the Caribbean.
Caribbean doctors caring for the Caribbean.
Call us and ask for the International Patients Office.
He's been named Canada's top jockey a record 8 times and awarded a national honor, the Service Star, by his country, Barbados. At 114 pounds, Patrick Husbands, on any given Sunday, can be found atop a 1,000-pound thoroughbred, getting set to charge to the finish line at Toronto's Woodbine Racetrack. With more than 15,000 races and near 3,000 wins, Patrick took us beyond the stable gates to reveal a horse racing tradition firmly rooted in family and in Barbados. To the capital Bridgetown we go at 13 degrees north and 59 degrees west.
It was the 1970s. The Garrison Savannah Racetrack in Bridgetown, Barbados. Nearby, on a family farm, little Patrick Husbands tried to keep up with his older brothers.
My mom was more laid back. My dad was always pushing up all his 4 boys to be jockeys. And so every evening we go up in the pasture, which we call Marine Gardens, and we try to outdo one another.
By the 80s, older brother Anthony was the lead apprentice rider in Barbados, while young Patrick was still trying to find his footing.
I come out and I was too small, 62 pounds. I was on the 4 feet. I had my helmet padded so don't drop on my nose. My first ride now that I could get a chance to go on the racetrack. I was out front, and when I swing for home, my knees are so weak, I start bouncing all over the place. I nearly drop off the horse. And Anthony come back, Daddy, you're gonna kill that kid. He's too young, he's too young, he's too young. And then the next race I ride, I won. And that is like, hey, that's my boy.
It would be the first in a lifetime of wins. Patrick would go on to become the youngest ever winner of the legendary Cockspur Gold Cup at 16, even after the devastating loss of his father a few months earlier.
So my father only saw me ride 3 races and he passed away. Back in the days, nobody had a cell phone, right? So I hear on the loudspeaker and I hear the other riders, Patrick Husbands, call home, your dad passed away.
Older brother Anthony, who by this time had moved away, urged Patrick to join him in Canada. There, he faced a frosty reception.
Touched down in Canada in 1995. And he raced track. It's prejudice. And I was here for 6 weeks. Couldn't even get a horse to exercise. And I could not get on a horse. And it's sad. A lot of tears behind that. A lot of tears.
It took 3 months before Anthony's boss decided to give Patrick a chance at Toronto's most elite Woodbine racetrack. That leg up was all he needed.
First race I rode at Woodbine, I win. 3 years later, I was a champion.
From then on, the wins kept piling up.
Leading them over to the top of the stretch, Patrick Husbands asks him for his heart, and he opens up.
In 2003, he captured Canada's most prestigious Queen's Plate on his way to winning the Triple Crown.
It is all Wando, sharp, strong, and a dominating winner of the Queen's Plate, Wando.
3 years later, he even took on the world-famous Kentucky Derby, where he placed 10th.
Flashy Bull is in line, and they're off in the Kentucky Derby. And toward the inside, Sinister Minister.
Patrick would become known for his fearlessness in riding bad horses.
You're not trying to make yourself an idiot or a hero in terms of a bad horse, but I believe that if you're bad, I'm better than you, and my heart beat the same as you, you know.
But being a champion isn't so easy. Patrick, like other riders, goes to extremes to stay close to 110 pounds. Even after consuming little more than a smoothie each day, he must still spend up to 2 hours in a sauna, like this one featured in the HBO documentary Jockey. He even vomits, losing up to 4 pounds a day. Then there are falls and fractures.
And a horse is down, a tough buck fell past the wire.
Patrick himself has survived a 6-week coma, and later, this accident in 2013 that could have ended his career.
When I get to the wire, the horse had a heat stroke and dropped right by the wire. I had snap here, I had snap here, and I had snapped my ankle. And when that boy looked to the right, my foot was spinning the other direction. My doctor, he said, Mr. Husbands, the bad news is, if you was a racehorse, we had to put you down. And the good news is, what we put in here can't come back out. We have to put the whole foot in steel. My reaction to him is, can I ride again? He said, well, you just gotta keep your fingers crossed and deal with Mother Nature.
With screws, rods, and a bolt to keep his leg in place, Patrick rode through the pain, and 2014 became one of his best years yet.
In the last 16th of a mile, the filly was fabulous this afternoon.
Racking up 170 wins, achieving a 36th ranking in North America, winning the Queen's Plate for the second time, and the equivalent of $11.7 million in purse earnings that year. His cut was 7%.
It's a great feeling, you know. I bridged this filly on Saturday, and I called Barbados to tell everybody I'm coming home to celebrate, you know.
With Barbados never far from his mind, he hosts a gathering at his home in Canada for fellow Caribbean jockeys and businessmen every Monday night.
People move up here and can't get a chance to get back home. So I try to make sure that everybody still live as one, and you know, I'm in a position that I could try to keep everybody happy.
Now in his 40s, Patrick may be turning a page in his career. While he faces lingering pains from his injuries and challenges from younger, upcoming rivals, he still has big riding dreams and plans to open a jockey school in Barbados, the country where it all started.
That's all I know, and that's all I love. I don't scare no horses, I don't scare the guy. I just love it, just love it, just love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it.
So this is where we bring 18 Degrees North to a close for this week. Join us online, look us up on Twitter or on Facebook. We're there to bring you Caribbean stories that have global impact. From all of us here at 18 Degrees North, I'm Zara Burton. Thanks so much for joining us. See you next time.
18 Degrees North is a production of Global Reporters for the Caribbean in association with
Games Book Center.